process payments in your Sage 300 environment. My name is Devin Mildar, and I'm the VP of Sales here for Canada, and I'm really the expert around everything to do with Sage 300. So if there are any questions, please feel free to type them into the chat window or the questions pane, and I'd love to get to them at the end of the presentation. So we do have a good number of attendees today, so hopefully you all can see some value from the presentation. And again, if there's anything that I can do to help make anyone more comfortable, please feel free to reach out. So I'm just going to go through our agenda for today. So I'm just going to go through quickly who ApS is. We'll also be going through common payment processing challenges. So this is really key because most merchants just don't take time to really understand payment processing and all of those complexities that go with choosing a merchant service provider. And to go along with that, exactly how that data is going to flow back into your accounting environment. I'm also going to be going through some of the things that are a little bit new and some of the things that we at ApS think are just really exciting, like our ApS Payments portal. You'll also learn a little bit about how ApS compares to some of our big name competition that just have become a little bit too familiar in the Canadian business landscape. And finally, we're going to take you through next steps. So after this session, it's really key for you guys to leverage the information that you learn and just start conversations internally. Whether you choose to go with ApS or not, our goal is to, of course, just get you guys interested, but ultimately, if we can provide you education, we just hope that that translates into success and growth for your organization. And that's the reason that we're doing this today. So I love to put this slide up because I know that the BAASS team has become really familiar with myself and the general ApS team, but it's good for me to show that ApS Canada does have a team behind the curtain. So we are really wacky, we're fun, and we love to help our partners and customers grow their businesses. Our team is spread throughout North America, so we're continuing to grow and invest in new and exciting developments all across the continent. A little bit about us. I just like to take some time to review who we are. So ApS has been in the business for over a decade. We've grown to now process for thousands of merchants in over 20 different countries. We've really stayed true to where we started, and we know that growing a business is hard work, it takes a lot of time, and we never turn away prospective merchants because of the amount that they're processing. So whether you're a big business or a small nonprofit, whether you're processing $2,000 a month or $20 million a month, we treat all accounts with the same level of support and the same level of respect. Because of our values, we've been able to grow. We've been ranked as a top 100 acquirer in the US for credit card processing, which is really a huge feat. And we've also been recognized by 5000 for the last 3 years consecutively as one of America's fastest growing companies. We support over 250 integrations, and we're always open to more. So if you think that maybe your business is using something that's a little bit niche or something that's industry specific, please don't hesitate to reach out. If we can help you to streamline, then more than often we'll take that under consideration and we'll think about how we can integrate if we don't already to those systems. We provide 24/7 live support, and this support is really something that we pride ourselves on. And our team out of our Arizona head office is really knowledgeable about everything to do with cross-border transactions if you do have businesses in Canada and the US or just domestically here in Canada. Merchants tend to love us, and we have a 96% recommendation rate across the board. So that's really huge. Because of this, we have a lot of organizations and people at those merchant sites that end up recommending us, you know, their barbers or their nail salons, and we end up working with all kinds of different companies across the country. We like to think that the key reason that we stay successful is because of our partners, and so it just goes back to our core value system and believing that our partnerships with companies like BAASS and our own merchants are really important, and we do listen and we do want to make sure that you guys are growing and becoming successful businesses. So ApS is a little bit different from some of the other merchant service providers out there. We like to say that we are an end-to-end solution provider. So what does that mean? What that means is ApS is not only a credit card processor, so we take the place of organizations like Moneris or TD Merchant Services, but we're also a solution provider. So we provide you that software that sits right in your Sage environment so that you guys can process transactions directly from Sage, or like I mentioned, any of those other integrated solutions. We also have our own gateway, which means that we can see general oversight of every single transaction that you guys process. So if there are any errors, you're not having to call out to 2 or 3 different providers. You can just call ApS and we'll know exactly how to come up with a solution to fix that issue if one does occur. So not all merchant processors are equal. And so I do like to put up this slide because a lot of people do tend to think that we're all kind of the same. But when it comes down to it, not all merchant statement fees are negotiable. So understanding things like fee structure is really important. Every single merchant service provider out there can price you very differently, and it's really difficult and confusing to understand exactly how you're being priced. So knowing the difference between fee structures just generally is not easy. Hidden fees can also occur. So if you don't know what you're looking for, it can be really difficult. And that's the reason that ApS is here providing that education. And as we go through, and if you guys do choose to consider ApS, we'll sit with you and we'll dissect all of the fees that you're currently paying and show you and point out where ApS can save you money. I do like to put up this slide because it just kind of shows the way that payment processing is keeping up with the technological pace of innovation. So the old way of processing payments, typically you would be taking a payment over the phone, maybe through email, or maybe through fax. Maybe you're getting paid through checks. In Canada, we know that check payments are going down by volume. And generally, you don't have your systems that are integrated. So if you are processing credit cards today, often you're processing it through a manual physical terminal and then having to rekey that information back into your ERP environment. More and more, as we continue to innovate across all industries, we're seeing that multi-channel ordering is becoming more entrenched in business today. So what that means is taking orders online from an e-commerce solution. Maybe you go out to trade shows and you take orders there on a mobile device. Also, we find that businesses want to have the ability to self-serve. So allowing their customers the ability to go into a website that you control so that they can see the statement of their account and pay invoices on their own without having to drive up admin costs. And oftentimes, more and more, we're seeing that organizations want their systems integrated so that they don't have to do that manual reconciliation and that they can be confident that that information and data will flow back into their ERP environment for reporting purposes overall. So integrated payments offers tremendous benefits. So you can think about things like reduced processing times, streamlined operations, increased data security, improved visibility and reporting, of course, and just general better cash flow and customer experience. So as you interact with your clients, again, going back to that self-serve client portal, or just general, if you can reduce your admin costs, of course, you're going to be happier to work with all of your customers who do end up calling in. We can also save businesses on business-to-business transactions with level 3 data in the United States. And in Canada, it's a program that we are working to roll out in 2020. So this chart just kind of illustrates exactly what I've been talking about, integrated payments and the effects that has on the business environment. So thinking about reducing payment processing times, again, reducing the number of approvals that are required, overall reduction of administration costs, improved visibility and data reporting so that executive team and everyone else can have general oversight, improve supplier relations so that your suppliers have the data that can be actionable, and improved cash flow. So going back a little bit to how I mentioned that not all merchants price you the same way and that it can be a little bit confusing, this is really where I'm going to start diving into that and kind of dissecting what that means. So there are typically 3 examples of common pricing models used by merchant service providers. Often we have flat rate pricing, and that's often used by companies like Stripe, Square, or PayPal. Secondly, in the middle, we have tiered pricing. This is further broken down into 3 different buckets. So you can have fully qualified, mid-qualified, and non-qualified cards. Where that becomes really difficult is that you as a merchant have no idea what cards you're accepting, when you're accepting them, and what cards fall into which bucket. Therefore, if you accept cards that maybe don't fall into that fully qualified bucket, and they are non-qualified cards or mid-qualified cards, oftentimes you're paying exorbitant rates for card acceptance. What ApS does is we like transparency. We like to give you guys as much savings as we possibly can. And so we use the Interchange Plus model, which is the model all the way to your right. What that does is it allows us to pass on the hard cost of credit card acceptance. So the fees that Visa and MasterCard, Amex require us to pay them. So we'll pass it down to you guys and we'll charge you a small markup on top of that, but it will be illustrated on your merchant statement at the end of the month. What is Level 3? So I'm just going to kind of go through this. Level 3, like I had mentioned, it's a program that we are looking to roll out in Canada by 2020. It's not currently available regardless of the merchant processor that you go to, but generally it puts a value on data. So if you do have a location in the US or you do have a subsidiary in the US that is processing credit cards, we can help to reduce some of that cost today. But in Canada, like I said, any Canadian merchant that does adopt ApS will automatically be rolled into that program once we do roll it out. So Visa and MasterCard often provide hard cost discounts to business merchants who are able to transmit 16 different data points back to them. Level 3 transactions typically cost a merchant 0.5 to 1.5% less than a standard Level 1 transaction. That amounts to huge savings for business companies. In addition, merchants receive detailed reporting that allows them to track transactions from beginning to settlement. Reporting can be tailored with up to 60 different data points. Level 3 processing, like I had mentioned, again, you can see from the little Canadian asterisks here, not available in Canada, but we are the only Sage 300 integrated solution that can leverage your Sage tables to remit back that Level 3 data. This is an example of all of that data that would need to be remitted back to get a further discount. So on the right-hand side, you can see that if you didn't have an integrated solution that can remit back that data for you automatically, what the expectation is to get that further discount is to actually sit there and manually code out all of those data points, which just becomes unreasonable, it's unrealistic, and then you just end up not getting that discount. But with ApS, you can be confident that you will. This is an example of an ApS merchant statement assessment. So when you submit 2 of your most recent merchant statements to us, what we'll do, as I had mentioned before, we'll go through it. We'll sit down, we'll dissect that information, and we'll present it back to you. So at the top here, you can see that this merchant had a tiered structure. So they had different cards that fell into different buckets. At the bottom, in the middle here, you can see what ApS's rates and fees are in contrast to their current processing. And at the bottom, we can show that this particular merchant, we were able to save $1,400 a month, or about $17,000 a year. And that's about a 30% savings. So when people think about credit card acceptance, often they don't think that they can save that amount of money. Or if you're looking to implement credit card processing, and if you don't process credit cards today, oftentimes you're thinking, wow, the costs are really exorbitant. But that's because we're used to, in Canada especially, that general big business landscape where Moneris or TD or Chase are just charging you those exorbitant rates. At ApS, we can actually reduce those down quite significantly. This is an example of a merchant statement that you might get from one of the big name processors. So if you take a look at yours, you might notice that there is very little detail, and it can be very hard to pinpoint exactly what you are paying. ApS's merchant statements are very different because we provide absolute transparency to our merchants. All transactions will detail out exactly where your money is going. So if that's paying Visa or MasterCard, you can clearly see that. And you can clearly see exactly how much ApS is making off of every single transaction. As I had mentioned before, ApS has built our own gateway environment. So what this means is that we can actually process those transactions directly through our own proprietary gateway. So there's no need to go out to somebody like Authorized.net or somebody else to integrate into your Sage 300 environment. What we do is we don't have a setup fee. Oftentimes, if you, on the contrast to some of our competitors, you have $49 and above setup. Our monthly gateway fee is only $10, and oftentimes it's $25 or more with our competitors. We don't have a daily batch fee, and our transaction fees are comparable. Along with that, you get the additional value of having the ability to possibly take advantage of our Level 3 processing program, and we've now rolled out our ApS Payments portal, which you can leverage as a self-serve for your customer base. So now I'm just going to go through some of ApS's key features. So ApS provides daily automatic batch reporting. So just another key thing that you guys can take advantage of. We can process in over 150 currencies. So like I had mentioned, if you guys do need to process in US dollars, Canadian dollars, of course we can do that. We can process if you guys have branches in Australia, New Zealand, the UK, and Europe. But if for some reason you need to process in Thai baht or Russian rubles, we can help to facilitate that as well. We don't charge merchants for things like installation, maintenance, or setup, and our 24/7 support is always free. On the technology side, like I had mentioned, we're consistently innovating. We provide a 100% PCI compliant gateway, which provides merchants with tokenized data encryption. That's not something that you get from all merchant service providers. We are the only Sage 300 integrated solution that can automatically remit back level 3 data back to Visa and MasterCard. We've also, as I mentioned, just released and are rolling out our ApS Payments portal. And we are able to provide physical terminals if it's required by your business. So let's say you guys have a mobile sales force that needs to take advantage of an iOS or Android app, or maybe you have brick and mortar locations that require POS integration. We can also help to support in that way as well. One of the things that us here at ApS, again, is really proud of is that payments portal. So this portal connects directly to your Sage 300 environment and provides your customers the ability to log in online and use a web portal to check in real time exactly what the statement of their account is, any recent account activity, and the ability to pay one or more outstanding invoices just with a click of the button. So it just makes it very easy and very quick. So now just switching gears a little bit, I'm just going to change my screen so that I can show you guys what our Sage 300 integration looks like. So just bear with me here for a moment. Okay, so you guys should be able to see my Sage 300 environment. And I'm using version 2014, but we do support all the way up to 2019 and all the way back. So if for some reason you're on an older version, we can help to support you. And if for some reason you don't have the funds to go forward and do an upgrade, ApS most likely can show you that you can save money on the credit card side and use those funds for an upgrade. So just to get started here, on the left-hand column, you can see that ApS has built just another module in the Sage 300 environment. I do like to start in setup. Once you click on that module, it takes you to this landing page. So let's jump into setup. And these fields here, you don't really have to worry about. These fields are really for my backend staff to help to install and set up the environment once you guys do choose to move forward. Install and setup usually takes between 30 minutes to 1 hour. So it's really quick, really easy, and painless. I do like to point out these two optional fields here. This one, you can leave it checked on, you can leave it checked off. Most merchants that I work with today leave it checked on because it's for reporting purposes, so that you can see at the end of the day exactly how much you're processing with Visa, MasterCard, and Amex. Down here at the bottom, as I had mentioned before, ApS is the only Sage 300 integrated solution in the ecosystem that allows us to remit back level 3 data to Visa and MasterCard automatically using your Sage tables. So this field here, we will set that up for you if you do have a requirement for level 3 processing, and that data will automatically get remitted back to Visa and MasterCard on your behalf. Let's jump into the ApS Customers. So I'll just click in here. And if I click on this magnifying glass, I'm just going to choose Ronald Black here. But as you notice, we have more than one customer. Now, what that means is because we are integrated to your Sage 300 environment, we can pull out all of your customer data. So if that customer already exists within Sage, there's no need for you to go back in and manual enter anyone. All of that information will already be here. So we're just going to choose Ronald. And down here, you can see that we already have a default credit card on file for him. There are certain things that you guys as end users will be able to see. For example, the last 4 digits of the card and the credit card expiry date. You'll never be able to see anything more than that because of our vaulted and tokenized system. Here you can see the vault ID, which reads back to our own ApS gateway. Okay, so if I click on this magnifying glass here, I do like to point out that you can have multiple credit cards on file for any given Sage customer. Now, you can have an unlimited number of customers on credit cards on file for any given customer. So if for any reason you need to have multiple corporate cards, multiple personal cards, it just makes it easy for your back-end staff to go in and choose the right card for any transaction. Again, all you can see as an end user is the last 4 digits of the card and the credit card expiry date. I'm just going to cancel out of here. And down here, you can see that some of these fields are also left open. So what makes it really nice is you can have a card description for every single card you have on file. The end users can go in, change any address line items if they need to, postal code, currency, for example. I am going to jump into add new credit card really quickly. Here, you can see that ApS has built an email field. Now, this is really nice. We've had a lot of customers that have requested this, and what it does is you can have an email on file for any credit card that you have on file. Anytime a transaction is created against that credit card, an email will actually go out to that customer letting them know that a transaction is being created. So it just provides both you and your customers a nice audit trail. If I cancel out here, you can see that we have the update and delete buttons. Very easy to update and delete cards. Okay. Now, some of you may be using the order entry that's built into Sage, and that's okay. If you're not using order entry, that's okay too. This demo walkthrough is kind of tailored to order entry, so don't fear if you're not using it. I can always speak to any questions that you guys might have. So let's just go through this really quickly. I'm just going to go in and I'm going to select Ronald Black as my customer. And let's say Ronald is using, he's opening up a new office space and he needs 20 new desk lamps. So we'll just go in, we'll fill in this information. And if you are familiar with order entry, you might notice that this screen is exactly the same as the Sage OE screen. The only difference is that ApS has built in this little button down here at the bottom. And in a moment, I'm going to show you when this button becomes active, how you can process payments within this screen. So really quickly, I'm going to go in, I'm going to click post. I'm not going to print because we're in a demo. And this button then lights up. If I click on this button, you can see that this little box pops up. Now, anywhere that you see this ApS credit card payment button, we do have a screen within the AR batch receipt screen, a batch list screen, and you can pull up this button there and you can process transactions that way as well. It's the exact same screen. If you click on the Finder here, you can switch between any number of credit cards for any reason. You can even add a new credit card on the fly very quickly and easily, update or delete cards. You can change that transaction amount if you need to. You can pre-authorize the transaction, or you can simply make the sale and capture the funds. For this purpose, I'm just going to go through and I'm going to pre-authorize the transaction. So I'm going to click on this button. And as we're doing that, all of the information around the card is actually going through our own vaulted system and gateway environment. If there was any reason that we couldn't process that card or there was an error, it would actually pop up on the screen. Instead of getting this approved notification, you would be notified. So you'd know if, let's say, the postal code was off, the credit card was expired, or insufficient funds, something like that. But of course, because we're in a demo, it's approved. So I'm just going to click OK. And down here at the bottom, we've also built in this field. This field provides you a nice audit trail. Here you can see that we have a pre-authorized, but if you had just captured the funds, you would see sale made here. If I close out, I'm just going to ship. And then I'm going to post. And again, I'm not going to print because this is a demo. And now if you are interested in doing pre-authorized payments, what you do have to do is you do have to go into this OE invoice entry screen. You can open this up and you would have to find that shipment. So let's go in, let's check for Ronald. Do we have any shipments here? Of course, we have the one that we just did, and you have those fluorescent desk lamps. So down here at the bottom, you can see that we have that pre-authorized number of $1,300. And again, we have that ApS credit card payment button. So to capture those funds, all we have to do is click on that button, and we can either void out that transaction, or we can just simply make the sale. So I'm just going to go through, I'm going to make the sale, click yes. Again, all of that information is going through our own vaulted and gateway system. And now we have a positive notification. The OE invoice is being posted and it's being added to this receipt batch. I'm going to click OK, and the transaction history updates. If I close this out, you can see that the pre-authorized amount was around 1,300, and the captured amount was the same. Okay, and that's really all you need to do within OE if you want to process credit cards within Sage. Now, if, for example, you're creating invoices and accounts receivable, and you do want to process a credit card against any of those invoices, you can use the receipt batch list screen. So we can go in here, and this is the same receipt batch list screen that's available within your Sage accounts receivable module. The only difference is if we open one of these, we have 3 different buttons here. We have the ApS credit card payment button. If like this batch has already gone through, you will have the void and you'll have the refund button. Okay. So I'm just going to switch back a little bit, and we're going to go back into the PowerPoint. Again, if there's any questions around this, please feel free to type them into the questions pane or chat window. I'll be happy to address them at the end. If I can't address them, if they're a little too technical, I'll make sure to get back to you guys. But please feel free to type into those boxes, and I'll try my best to give you guys answers. Okay, so going back into this, I do just want to point out that ApS has many more integrations, of course. So that includes Magento, if you guys have an e-commerce store, a POS environment, or any mobile integrations, okay? So we are very flexible, we're very agile to your business growth needs. So again, just to kind of recap the ApS payments difference, we're an all-in-one processor. It says in the cloud, what that means is that all of the data is not stored within your Sage 300 server. It is stored within ApS servers repeated across North America in bank level security. So you can be confident that everything is extremely secure. ApS now has the customer payments portal, which is available. We can provide detailed line item rates by card brand and provide you a summary. Like I had mentioned before, we have a lot of merchants that end up utilizing the savings that ApS can show to offset costs for other business investments. So like I had mentioned, maybe you have an upgrade that's outstanding. Maybe you are looking at a different third-party solution to help your business grow in a different way. Oftentimes we can show savings upwards into the thousands so that you guys can take advantage of some of those other nice things to have for the business. And again, we have 24/7 live support. So again, that's a little bit different than some of our competitors. You might be familiar with going into a queue, either working with like somebody like Rogers, Bell, or maybe Moneris, but you wouldn't have that with ApS. The moment that you call in, we have somebody live ready to speak with you. It's a group of 5 or 6 individuals on our support team, and they are intimate with all of our accounts. And if you guys do choose to go with us, you can be confident that you would get the support that you need right away. Again, just to point out that 96% recommendation rate, again, ApS has 250 software integrations that exist today, but don't hesitate to reach out if there is something a little bit nuanced. And we've been recognized as a top 100 processor. So you can be confident that we're processing for thousands of merchants across North America, large companies, and no one really has an issue with working with ApS. So you should be confident with the move if you do choose to. I would like to share with you guys a case study that we have. This client has been a great ApS client in the Sage 300 space for quite some time now, and they faced quite a number of challenges. Number one, they used credit card terminals, so actual physical terminals, to manually key in all card types. They were processing about 250 credit card orders a day. So imagine taking a phone order, sitting there and actually manually keying in all of those orders. Some of you might be in that scenario today, and let me tell you, there are ways to get around that. The solution that we helped them to implement was we worked with their business partner. In this case, you guys would be working with BAASS. And we have a number of BAASS clients that already work with us, so we're confident that we can help to get you guys going very quickly and very easily. But with this client, we help them to automate the processes of authorization, and they leverage some of ApS's existing third-party integrations. So we leveraged the realizable IMAN's ApS connector and as well Sage Alerts and Workflow. Because this client is located down in Ohio, they took advantage of that level 3 processing program, and they were able to lower their rates a little bit more significantly and a little bit more aggressively because they can take advantage of that program. That's not to say that we can't lower your rates up here in Canada. We definitely can, and we do have a nice challenge that I'll speak to at the end of this to help you guys to make sure that you're going to save some money. At the end of the day, what K&K saw was they got a 100% PCI DSS compliant solution. So it was 100% secure. They ended up saving over $40,000 in transaction fees annually, and they reduced their processing time, administration cost, and they overall increased their customer satisfaction and improved their cash flow. So they saw a tremendous ability to grow their business following ApS's implementation. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, is my business a good fit? Am I the right person to be speaking to? Let me tell you, it doesn't matter. We process for huge organizations, national basketball teams here in Canada and the US, and even small nonprofits. So like I said before, our business is very agnostic. If you have a need to take a payment, ApS can definitely support you. You shouldn't let anything in your mind drive you away from that. Like I mentioned before, we can integrate with e-commerce solutions, POS solutions, mobile, and we can even help to support maybe in some of those non-integrated scenarios. So how can you get started? So number one, if you guys are interested, if there's any questions or anything like that, if ApS can save you money, the best way to start is to submit 2 of your most recent merchant statements, submit it to your BAASS rep, let them know that you joined me for the webinar today and that you saw that there could be some potential there. What we're going to do is we have a team internally that will go through and analyze those statements, and they'll come back and they'll say, look, this is where we can save all of these fees. This is where we can save on rates. And we'll walk you guys through that. And we'll show you exactly, where those nuances are and how we can save you money. If you do go through that and you do like ApS, it's very quick and easy. Like I mentioned, it takes about 30 minutes to an hour to get us installed in your Sage 300 environment. So very quick and easy on that front. And to incentivize you a little bit more, we do have a payments challenge. And if you guys do send us 2 of your most recent merchant statements, and for some reason we cannot save you money on your rates and fees that you're currently paying, we will actually pay out $500 to your organization just for considering ApS. So we're pretty confident that we can, beat the competition and support you guys as you continue to grow. So just to close off, I'm going to throw up my my contact details. Please feel free to reach out to me at any point. My cell phone is always on, or you can always feel free to reach out to me via email. But again, consult with your BAASS rep, understand if this is the right way for you guys to grow your business, and we would be happy to work with you guys to continue to grow. So I'm going to pass back to Marcel really quick and just ask if there are any questions or anything that he can see in the chat and questions panes. Marcel, are you there?
Yes, thanks, Devin. Thank you very much. So a couple questions here. One individual mentioned that they currently do accept credit card payments. They have prepayments for orders. Do they need to have merchant ID before engaging with ApS, or ApS applies for the merchant ID on their behalf?
Yeah, so if you guys are not processing credit cards today, we can help to walk you through that process. We can get you guys a merchant ID. It's all a part of the application process. So of course, you don't need to submit 2 most recent merchant statements if you're not processing credit cards. We can work with you to get you the best rates right out of the gate. So you don't have to worry about that.
Perfect. And the second question referred to the cost of implementation. I know you mentioned that the module is free, but are there any additional costs for implementation or support?
No, from the ApS side, we don't charge for any for any implementation, support again is completely free. We provide training for the life of your account. So if for some reason that individual that was working with APS at the organization decides to leave, and for some reason you need someone else to get trained, at any point we can provide you that training again, or if somebody just needs a refresher for free for the life of your account. There's no additional cost. The only cost that you pay to APS is actually processing the credit cards. And again, it will be cheaper than what you're currently paying.
Perfect. And there was one client who's coming from a not-for-profit, and they asked if there was any way to track memberships using APS.
Yeah. So the way that we've worked with organizations like that in the past is going back to APS's self-serve portal, right? That's a really powerful portal that connects directly to your Sage 300 environment, connects to APS, and can provide your members with the ability to log in, have unique username, unique password, go in, check, when their membership dues are due, and actually make payments through that portal very quickly and very easily. So if there's something that your organization is doing differently, or a workflow process that you guys would like to see, we can always work through that. But that we've kind of leaned on the APS payments portal to really help those businesses.
Okay. One individual asked, what is your solution for e-commerce?
Yeah, so we have a number of integrations with different e-commerce platforms. So as I had mentioned, Magento is definitely one of them. We have integrations with WooCommerce. We can help to support commerce build in the Sage 300 space. So if there's anyone specific that you guys work with, let us know, and we can definitely check to see if we have an existing integration or if we can connect in any other way.
Perfect. How are chargebacks being handled?
Yeah, so that question is more for my sales team, really. So they have a lot of knowledge around exactly how the different rates and fees that are associated with credit card processing. Unfortunately, I am not an expert, but we definitely can support you through chargeback scenario. APS is a merchant service provider, so we can support you in that way. But if you guys do get, a lot of chargebacks, then of course we're going to have some questions around that. So let's take that question offline and let's explore that a little bit more.
Okay. One more question. One person said that they do accept credit card payments. They have prepayments for orders, payments made before shipment, and payments made at point of invoicing, all on credit card. Does this matter for using your system? We also use a POS machine for US funds, but have to call in for Canadian funds. Can both currencies be done on your system?
Yeah, definitely. So unpacking that a little bit more, we've worked with organizations like that in the past, and depending on the POS system, we should be able to support in that integration, and we should be able to support through your entire workflow process. So, the next step here, I think, if there is some interest, let's sit down, let's have a discovery call, and let's talk about your process flow and really unpack how APS would fit into that, because we have been able to support organizations like that in the past.
Okay, great. And one last question. Does this work with debit transactions as well?
Definitely. So in Canada, the Interact network is separate, of course, from the Visa and MasterCard network. Interact, unfortunately, does not allow you to take Interact over the web or through a virtual terminal. So Interact has to be in a card-present environment. For example, if you have a brick-and-mortar location. But in that scenario where APS can provide you with a physical terminal and you do have a brick-and-mortar location, we can support for debit transactions.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Devin. And again, for any of the attendees, there will be a recording that will be circulated shortly after. And if there are any questions, please contact your BAASS account manager or APS as well with Devin's contact information. So thanks again, Devin, and take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.